I'm Barnett, and I'm in the communications office for the school district. The first thing we're going to do is introduce our interpreters who will be assisting families with us tonight.
Hello, I'm Lucia Cabrejos. I'm the Spanish interpreter. Me llamo Lucia Cabrejos, soy la intérprete en español y si me necesitan voy a estar allá atrás para que los dé los aparatos.
Hello, my name is Kong and I am the Vietnamese interpreter. Với những người Việt Nam, xin quý vị nếu quý vị cần thông dịch viên, xin quý vị về phía sau của hội trường này. Cảm ơn quý vị.
Hello, I'm Russian interpreter, and I will be sitting in the middle with the Russian group. Я русский переводчик, и я буду сидеть в середине зала с русскими родителями. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Ken Ma, Chinese, Cantonese. Actually, I can speak Mandarin too, but the group I help out is Cantonese, so I can only speak one dialect at one time. So, okay.
Do you want to do it in Cantonese too?
我係姓馬嘅，我今日翻譯廣東話，即係我諗住冇乜講國語嘅人，咁啊我就今晚淨係翻譯廣東話啫，咁如果你有需要同我講。
Thank you so much. So if you understood Mr. Ma the second time, see him. Okay. What I'd like to do then is have Kristen Westfall, our awesome principal at Hosford, give you a welcome this evening. Hi, everybody. Oh, we can do better than that. Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us. I know that's really pretty outside. Glad you can be here at Hosford this evening. Thank you for bringing your voice so that we can hear from all of you about the needs of the community. I want to make sure you know who our assistant principal is, Paul Coakley. If you need anything this evening, we're both here to help, but I'm headed over to Woodstock for a PTSA meeting in a little bit, so Mr. Coakley will be here to assist as well. And I want to welcome our superintendent and assistant superintendents. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you again for being here. We're looking forward to hearing your voices.
Thank you, Kristen and Paul and Aaron.
We'll do just a little bit more so you know what to expect tonight. First of all, a couple people want to recognize we have some principals with us. We have Carl Newsom from Astor. We have John Walden from Harrison Park. And we have Ben Kiefer from Vernon. Yeah, and anybody I miss, anyone who's hiding out there, okay. So just so you have a sense of how it's going to go tonight, Superintendent Smith is going to give a quick presentation, just running through the basics of her scenario and what she's proposing, and then we're going to move right into testimony. Last night, I want you to know, like I know sometimes you think you come to these meetings and, gosh, am I going to get heard? Is it going to matter? Superintendent Smith is very actively taking notes, thinking about, are there some fine tuning? Last night was extremely productive at Robert Gray. We had about 350 people. We got about 25 people were able to speak, and it just was incredibly constructive. Some criticism, some gratitude, but really good stuff that was helpful for the superintendent as she finishes these things up. So you are truly valued for being here, and you are not wasting your time on this beautiful night. Okay. We also know that you're here because you care about your kids and our schools, and we thank you for that. So tonight, when we do the testimony, just so you know, we rotate through all of the schools that are here, so that, and then if we can go a second rotation, we'll do a second rotation. And I will, you get about 2.5 minutes, okay? And when we get close to that, I will start walking towards you. And somehow when my boss said this last night, he said, I'm going to get up in your personal space, and that seems scary, but like if I said that, I'm a little cuddlier, and it's like, so what? I just go like this. So anyhow, I'll attempt to be menacing. So that's how we'll do it, keep things rolling. The idea of the limited testimony is so we can get lots of folks in. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our awesome superintendent, Carol Smith.
Thanks, Aaron, and thank you to everyone for being here tonight. How many people have been part of any part of this boundary process? You've been to any of the listening sessions or anything else? Okay, so you're tracking this. This is good. What I wanted to do, hopefully you picked up a map and the one pager on the way in so you can see on the map if you need to reference it. While we're talking, what I'll run you through is what I am calling my scenario, and I'm calling it a scenario on purpose, not a proposal, because we're not to a proposal yet. Where we are in this process, this microphone's very weird. Am I standing in the wrong place?
Do we like this better? I think we like this better. There you go.
So where we are in the process, DBRAC, it was an advisory committee that spent 14 months doing the deep understanding of our enrollment patterns in the district, looking at data, looking at what we need to have healthy schools, and putting together, listening to people, and then putting together a series of scenarios, vetting them with the community, coming back, tinkering again. So they did a lot of work. I was able to sit in on some of, they had 17 listening sessions that were broad listening sessions. The board and I got to sit and listen to those. They then put together a proposal that then came into my lap. I took that, went out and did some more listening sessions, because each time you do another revision, a new group of people gets impacted who hasn't really been paying attention until they're getting impacted. And people get more and more detail about what the real impacts of these are, and so this is part of what we're trying to hear in this. You can do things that make sense on a high-level altitude, and then when you get down to the specifics about a particular street, or okay, we've just isolated these 12 people. I mean, there's a bunch of detail that you know from your seats that is important. That's what we're listening for. So I did 2 listening sessions, then I did one-on-one meetings with each board member to hear how their heads were moving. Then I put together this scenario. I'm out doing 2 more listening sessions. Then I put together a proposal for the board. It will have some things in it that are need immediate action if they're really going to happen in 2016, and other things that will continue to be in motion, so won't be hard and fast right away. So just know there's going to be kind of different levels of this needs to move quickly, there's probably more time that we keep shaping it. So just, there's that variability. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to run you through this sort of quickly so that everybody is on a page of what this scenario is, and then we'll start the feedback. And I really want to hear both what works for you, so be sure to say this one does work so it doesn't get swept away if it's something that you're liking, and hear the things that are challenges, or things that maybe you're aware of from your seat that we may not be able to see. So with that, and I'm shooting for March 29th as the moment I move this to the board. Okay, so first, I'm accepting DBRAC's recommendation to do primarily K-5s and middle schools as our primary grade configuration in the district, and that we implement that over time. So it's not just a one fell swoop, all of a sudden we go to middle schools, but I'm expecting this to take multiple years for that transition to occur and do it well. The exceptions that DBRAC recommended that I'm also going to recommend, Skyline, which has a remote location and it makes sense as a K-8. Fabian, which is in part, we've been doing a programmatic and capital partnership with Concordia College and Trillium Family Services that we're deep in, that is about it being a K-8, retaining that. We have focus options in alternative schools that are driven by their mission and their purpose. Some of those will remain K-8. And then the last one, absence of good options for conversion to middle school available in a geography, is we've got certain parts of the city that where you could have a number of middle school K-5s that can make a healthy middle school, and still a school that could be a K-8, and the ecology of that whole package works in that particular geography. So we're looking at what can work in a geography. Either you would end up with too big a middle school if you tried to put all of them in, or so. Anyway, we're trying to make the package work. At the same time, DBRAC has been doing its work. We have had an internal team, Harriet and Antonio, our 2 assistant superintendents, have been part of an implementation team and really looking at what are the implications of things that are being generated by DBRAC and what does it take for us to do them and do them well. So what are the staffing implications, budget, facility, program, and part of what we're doing at this point is we'll convene a district-wide planning team to put together the design of what we want our middle schools to be in this district. So that'll be operating all next year, looking at district-wide. And that'll impact both the newly configured middle schools as well as existing middle schools that we're looking to shape program both. Okay, now to the recommendations. Well, first recommendation is that Ockley Green would become a middle school in 2016. And this is good if we're going through this and you express like quick, succinct joy or whatever, whichever theatrical expression you'd like to use. So what this would mean is it would first, Ockley would be a 5-8 in its first year because we wouldn't send the fifth graders who are already there back. We'd keep the fifth graders, and then the following year it becomes a 6-8. Chief Joe would be a K4 in 2016 and then become a K5 in 2017. Beach, Woodlawn, and Peninsula would all become K5s in 2016 in this scenario. In 2017, at the moment, Chief Joe becomes K5 and Peninsula becomes K5. There needs to be some boundary adjustments in order to make the K5s work. The most important thing on this slide is right here where it says there would be a mutual community and district understanding that we're responding to the urgency of the community voice, and there would be resulting trade-offs in preparedness and readiness if we start in 2016. There are going to be some things we're just in this together and trying to make it work because we're hearing urgency being a driving value for the community. Does that make sense? Uh-oh. Okay, Beaumont, in this scenario, Vernon goes to a K5 in 2016. And maybe boo, you could do, yeah. And then commentary waits until you get to come up and testify, but you can do the emotional responses to these. How's that? So Vernon would be a K5 in 2016. Some of these, I'm going to say, like there's also variability in terms of the when of some of these if we need more time to be ready to do them. So just to say, when you're weighing in, you can also express those kind of variables in here. George, we would look at the conversion of potential feeders. George Middle School is already a middle school, but this scenario has Astor becoming a K5 in 2017. Nicely done, that was good. In this scenario also, Cesar Chavez remains at K8 for the time being. And this is one of the ones where I was saying the ecology of that neighborhood, where you basically either Chavez or Astor could remain a K8 and the other one become a K5 and feed to George, and it works either way. So that's one where, in this scenario, I'd have Chavez being the K8 and Astor becoming K5. That was good, I got that one. Okay, Fabian, which is currently in its swing site at Tubman, moves back into its own remodeled building in August of 2017, and so Tubman then becomes available to us to become a middle school. So this scenario has Tubman and Roseway Heights opening as middle schools in 2017. It also has us identifying who the principals are for those buildings this year so that they're both able to participate in the district-wide planning team for middle schools district-wide, as well as working with their communities to prepare for a transition to middle school. So this would be what's the thoughtful planning we're trying to do to not put ourselves in the position that occurred when the transition to K8s happened. That was just abrupt. We're trying to do that. How do we really have everybody be part of preparing for this? Tubman, Feeders, Boyce Elliott Humboldt, King, Sabin, Irvington, Woo, well, that was a certain sentiment. Okay. Access in this scenario moves to Humboldt in 2017. In this one also, Beverly Cleary, and I'm going to say for the time being. So this is one where we've got some transitional time periods in here as populations are shifting. But Beverly Cleary would remain a K-8, as would Laurelhurst in the immediate. Part of how that's possible is the boundary change of opening up Rose City Park as a K-5. So there's opening Rose City Park and some boundary shifts. So last one, 2018, Kellogg would open as a middle school. We would do the corresponding feeder conversions to K-5. Then existing middle schools, Mount Tabor, Hosford, Selwood, and Lane, all changes for the potential. Okay, I'm coming back. I went too far ahead. I skipped this one, and then I'll get back to Chapman. Not to worry, not to worry. So Mount Tabor, Hosford, Selwood, and Lane, there are existing K-8s in the area that then convert to K-5s. And Harrison Park, we've got at this moment as continue to consider various scenarios because that whole is an ecology of the area that all fits together. This would be a continuing process with the impacted communities to really say what works in this area. And I expect I'll hear more about that. Okay, West Side, Chapman, we have, in this scenario, boundary changes to Forest Park, Bridle Mile, and Ainsworth that would happen in 2016. We have 4 kindergarten classes going to the Ramona. We have adding administrative capacity to operate Chapman on 2 campuses. Ainsworth, the Spanish immersion program would remain at Ainsworth, and we would increase our opportunities for native speakers. Bridle Mile would have a boundary change to Hayhurst that would take effect 2016. The size of the school at Bridle Mile then would require it to feed to West Sullivan because there are too many kids to go intact to Robert Gray. We would maintain the Robert Gray option for students to be able to go to Robert Gray if they want to, because we are wanting more students at Robert Gray, and we would increase transportation to make that possible. Hayhurst, we would move Odyssey to East Sylvan. Small boundary changes into Hayhurst from Reiki, Maplewood, and Bridle Mile. And the possible start of a Spanish immersion program in 2018. And again, part of the thought here is we heard great interest from families, more families wanting Spanish immersion on the west side, and Ainsworth is the only Spanish immersion program at this moment. It's still out a few years because we probably don't have enough demand to do another full program, but looking at Hayhurst or Smith as the potential sites for another west side Spanish immersion. Capitol Hill would have a boundary change into Stevenson, and Smith, we are marking the potential of opening Smith as a neighborhood school in 2019 to relieve the overcrowding at Capitol Hill and Maplewood. So the other ones on this one are additional options for future growth on the west side, and these are ones that are like longer term explorations. One, Lincoln is involved in a master planning effort at this moment, and we've asked them to take a look at what it would be to put a K-5, K-8, or middle school on that same campus. The post office, we're in conversations with the city. There's likely to be a housing development there that we're looking at whether or not it makes sense to have a school be part of that development. MLC, and this one is, we're doing a review of all of our educational options, which is broader than just focus options. So when I say educational option, that doesn't mean focus option. It means focus options, alternatives, all of those programs. We are in the process of doing a review, and what I've asked that group to do is take a look at the possibility of MLC as a K-8 rather than a K-12. And the reason is, okay, and this one I can just tell you, like we've got a wide variety of emotions and beliefs about this one. There's a group of people who are really interested in having the MLC building back as a neighborhood school. We had MLC community come forward and really do that. Our place is a total integral part of what we offer as a school community, and that's, like, it matters to stay in that location. We have that the space available at MLC is largely occupied by siblings, so siblings get in and there's not much space for neighborhood students to be able to come into the MLC community, even students who want to. And we've got a very small high school that both is a unique setting for our students in our district that is not replicated anywhere else. And we know we serve a group of kids there that it would be probably tough for them to find a niche that feels as at home as MLC. And it's a very small group of kids where we struggle with every year with whether or not we're actually providing them with as robust a program as we should be at the high school level. So just to say, it's a worthwhile question to ask them. This one does not have a recommendation attached. It's a please explore this question. Okay, last one is looking at, and this is true district-wide, but I'm saying this one in this slide in particular, identifying any other sites that, as we are doing bond projects over the next 30 years that lend themselves to being able to have a larger school on it than is currently located on it. So how are we maximizing use of all of our sites? So that's the last long-term exploration charge. And then finally, asking our DBRAC, and will members of DBRAC, if in the audience, please stand if you are here. We have a few members who are here listening. As I mentioned at the beginning, this group has been phenomenal, and they've met really intensively, done deep education, and really wrestled with proposals on all of our behalf in order to try and get us to the stage we are right now. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done, and we're asking them to stay together as a group and to continue working with us. Those of the members that are willing to continue, but we'll also be opening up for DBRAC members who feel like, okay, I've done my stint and I'm ready to do a wrap. We're at a good pause moment for them to step away that will create more opportunity for other folks to come and join this. But I will say they've been an amazing group and really necessary to our process. So thank you, DBRAC. Okay, and that is the presentation. I'm probably not going to do questions. Okay. Then it probably is that I went by it quickly. Let me go back. I'm having trouble being in the right location to move the slides because I keep backing behind it, and then I'm into the speaker, and then I'm back over and I can't do the slides. So, Roseway Heights, you're right, and I did buzz by it. So this is in the 2017 along with Hosford. Those are the two that would have a principal working to be ready to open those. Roseway Heights would open as a middle school in 2017. Scott, Rose City Park, Lee, and Vestal. Rose City Park opening as a K-5 neighborhood school, and that's some of what's interconnected then with Laurelhurst and Beverly Cleary. The Vietnamese program we're looking at either Vestal or at Rose City Park as the potential sites of locating that. And I'm being hesitant to call on people for questions because I'm wanting to do testimony as opposed to answering individual questions. Is it a clarifying question? Yes. So hang on, I'll get you back to Lane. It's because you're late in the so there's Rose City Park. There you've got Lane right there, which is 2018 that we're looking at then looking at K-8s in those middle schools that would be reconfigured to K-5s. So there's some adjustments in this whole area. This is really saying this whole group of schools is further out in our time frame of implementation, so more conversations still continuing to occur. Okay? I'm going to pause in my presentation and turn it over so that you guys get to do the bulk of talking. And thank you so much for being here to give feedback. I'll just reiterate, please do both the stuff that works and the stuff that we need to be thinking about as we're trying to land a final recommendation here. And did any board members show up? Paul Anthony is in the back. Thank you, Paul, for being here. And I know there are a couple other board members who are planning to join us, so just know they've really been working to be here listening to people's concerns and things that you're wanting to communicate to us. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Carol. So we have opened the balcony, so if you're standing back here and you'd rather be sitting, you can go up and sit in the balcony. And it might be more comfortable. There's also seats right up in the front if you're brave. It's all good. They don't bite. Okay, so let's get started with our testimony. A couple things I want you to know is that in addition to us absorbing your words, we also have a note taker who's amazing. He's in the very back, and if you watch him, he's like awesome. He types so fast, it's really incredible. And we are videotaping. So your remarks will be captured in many ways for the superintendent's use and for posterity. And so the other piece I was going to tell you that I wrote down is, we talked about the balcony. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to call up 2 people at a time. The first person will go ahead and share their remarks. The second person can come and be over here and be ready, so that we'll just kind of keep rolling through. I put a podium up here because last night we had people with all their notes and one lady was shaking like this, and it's like I thought it might be nice if you have a podium, you can put your stuff on. Okay, so the first 2 folks we're going to have tonight are Jason Storman from Astor and Heather Kent from Access.
We're going to get a lot of feedback. I'll just stand here. Are you speaking, Nick? Okay, you want to? I was just going to stand here. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jason Starman. I'm an Astor school parent. But I'm not here to talk about Astor. I'm here to do some perhaps embarrassing or what PPS should be ashamed of. I'll be talking about George Middle School, unfortunately. First, with all due respect, George Middle School does not deserve the fate that has been assigned to them by PPS. The administration, Superintendent Carol Smith, the board, They've basically assigned a Sisyphean task of rolling a boulder up a hill every year, and then when they come back in the fall, that boulder is right at the bottom. I would call it cruel and unusual punishment. Let me share with you a few of the numbers to back that up. These numbers are all from 2015. I'll start with the PPS Successful School Survey from 2014 to 2015. I would suggest you Google that if you haven't read. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's several pages about George. I'll cherry pick one statistic here. 67% of the George staff think that George is an unsafe environment. 67%. That's a significant majority, I would say. 18% absentee rate this year. That's, to compare, Astor is around 9%. 88% economically disadvantaged. That's a lot of students, pretty reduced. And probably the most amazing is one that I saw was less than 5%. Now I thought, that must be the number of millionaires going to George, the parents sending them to George, the 1%. But no, that's not what it was. It was the number or the percentage of 8th grade students that passed proficient score on the Smarter Balance math test. That's 5 students in the whole school, 8th grade. Yeah, gasp, that's what I did. Wait, what? Holy cow. So if this was happening pretty much at any other school represented here, I'm pretty sure furniture would be on fire. Parents would be walking around with pitchforks. They're definitely an underrepresented, population. So I'll skip to the place where you need to start taking notes. All right, because she's already encroaching on me. So we had a meeting on Monday, and we got together, talked about it, and we came up with a few things that we would like to see. And, it wasn't outlandish. We didn't ask George to look like Astor. We asked for higher test scores going in. We need to see a commitment at George from PPS, okay? We need to at least see an uptick. Secondly, it would be nice to see some Astor staff move along with the kids, some continuity there. Make it exciting to go to George. Create a STEM program, a magnet school, something like that. Give us an excuse. Make me stand up and say, I want to go to George. Secondarily, we also came up with a second plan, which was George K through 8. This would relieve overcrowding at Sinton, which is, of course, another forgotten school, which is already overcrowded. James John, which is really close, overcrowded, and Cesar Chavez. I could put on a t-shirt that said Cesar Chavez, Sinton, James John, any of those. Everyone in the North Portland area puts their hands up on their heads when they have to go to middle school and go, where am I going to send my kids? Because we don't have an option. No option. So I would please ask you as an action item, every Monday before you do your email, text, whatever, you can get coffee. But please take some time to think about what you can do that week to improve the lowest performing schools in PPS. I would also like to ask the board to put on their agenda at the top before every business item to ask the question, what can I do to improve the lowest performing schools in PPS? Thank you.
I don't really want to follow that, but I'm going to. My name is Heather Kent. I am the Access PTA president, and I just want to thank you for continuing to support Access, keeping us on your radar during this long process, as we hoped at the end we would still have a building that was open and that we could fit into. And tonight I'm going to support our recommendation, or the scenario, moving us to Humboldt. It is a central location, and with its size meets the 2 highest priorities for our community. Currently, we have students from 54 schools attending Access. I don't know if you know about what Access is, but it supports intellectual giftedness, and we have a very diverse population at Access, a growingly diverse population, and a central location is a key to making that happen and making it accessible to everyone in the district. We hope moving to Humboldt can help us continue our progress, making Access more diverse as we continue our efforts to reach out and build trust in communities that are currently underrepresented. Like other middle school programs that are small, Access struggles to offer our 6th through 8th graders the core programming they need. DBRAC has recommended that in order to provide a robust core and elective program, middle schools have 3 strands per grade, and we would like to see that growth occur at Access as well. We have more than 170 students on the waiting list now who qualify both by their scores and because they have a demonstrated need for our school. We'd like to make room for them. We don't think we want to wait until 2017, but we don't really know what that building looks like inside. If there is a science lab for our middle schoolers, we can live with some of the other things it doesn't have, but we really would like to move sooner, and we think we could get us off your plate. You're going to have a lot to do in 2017, but that's We don't know for sure until we know what the building has. And then finally, the recommendation to move access assignment to Jefferson. We have a site council that's developed some recommendations about what our high school program needs. We don't know if Jefferson can meet those needs. We just don't have enough information about that. So we want to reserve our right to come back to you with a little bit more, once we have a little bit more information. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go just a little out of order. We have a group of our Vietnamese families who are here tonight, and we're going to have Tam Nguyen, who is with Harrison Park, offer his testimony. And the next person who will come up will be Steve, and I'm looking at Lanigan from Beach. If Steve would also like to come and be over here, that would be great. And are you Tam? Yes.
Hi everybody. Tôi xin đại diện cho người Việt để nói lên một số ý kiến của mình.
I am representing the Vietnamese group here to say some of the ideas here.
Trong lĩnh vực có một cái sự thay đổi của trường Harrison Park.
About the changing at Harrison Park.
Vấn đề ở đây là chúng tôi muốn có một cái sự giáo dục tốt hơn cho con em của chúng tôi.
The things here is we want better education for our children.
Chúng tôi nghĩ rằng nếu như cái trường này được giữ giống như hiện tại.
We think if the school keeps the same here, remains the same.
Thì sự theo dõi xuyên suốt của quá trình giáo dục từ lớp mẫu giáo cho đến lớp 8 nó sẽ tốt hơn.
So the education will be better from first grade. Anh nói là lớp 1 hả? From kindergarten to K8.
Bởi vì cái sự giáo dục là đòi hỏi có một cái sự theo dõi xuyên suốt thì nó đảm bảo cái tính chất cao hơn.
So education need to be more like concentration, focusing, so it will be better.
Nếu như trong quá trình mà từ bắt đầu học ở đó cho đến khi lớp 8 mà ví dụ như con em chúng tôi có một cái sơ suất gì đó thì thầy cô giáo ở đó sẽ hiểu hơn và giúp đỡ nó tốt hơn.
So because from our children going there from kindergarten to K8, because the teacher there knows them better, so they can teach them better there.
Đó là những cái gì sự mong muốn của trong cái tập thể của chúng tôi để cho con em chúng tôi sẽ được có một cái nền giáo dục thật là tốt.
So those are our wishes from our family, so our children can have better education there.
Xin chào mọi người.
Thank you.
Nice job. Steve Lanigan? Who's Steve Lanigan? You're here. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Steve Lanigan, a Beach parent. I have a second grader and a sixth grader there. Everything that I've heard since the March 1st, 2016 standing room only listening session that we had at Ockley Green has been positive. Therefore, I believe that most parents like myself still feel that you acknowledged our strong support for a middle school at Ockley Green in 2016, and your scenario reflects that. Specifically and in summary, some of the key points, our concerns have not gone away, obviously, about the chronic overcrowding we already have at Beach that you heard before. Briefly, next fall, if we stay at K-8, we will have to put in 2 more classrooms. That means we will lose our undersized art room to a classroom and our even smaller music room to a classroom. The art room will become an art cart that goes from room to room. The music room will take place in the auditorium, where it will conflict with recess on rainy days, playworks on rainy days, assemblies, and right brain dance classes. It's not a good situation. It's a terrible situation. That's a sure formula for chaos, in my opinion. Our lunch schedule is already challenging for getting all our students in, and our principals informed us if we have to add 2 more classes, we will have to add another lunch session. That's going to take place at 10:30 or at 12:30, so right after the kids get there or late in the day. Of more concern to me is our staff is already at the breaking point for supervising the lunchroom situation. We don't have the staff to supervise another one, and that brings up a big concern about safety. We're disappointed, of course, that PPS didn't meet the original goal of a final decision in February, which would give everyone more time to plan. But we feel that waiting a year is unlikely to accomplish much. With all the controversy about the West Side school boundary changes, we're convinced that most of the resources will be focused on the West Side. So we have a sense of urgency. One new fact that something new that I just read today, according to the enrollment estimates for staffing and superintendent scenario, March 15, Ockley Green Middle School will meet the requirements for Title I funding, as will be at 41.6% of free meal by direct certification, which is the new way of determining if you're a Title I school. Therefore, please ensure that Ockley Green gets that Title I funding. And finally, let's make Ockley Green Middle School a success story. Let's come together and show other schools what we can do when we work together toward a common goal of improving our children's educational opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, the next 2 people, we have Dana Molinari. I've got 2 mics in my hands, that's why. And then after Dana, we will have, are you Dana? Okay, Rosie Platt, please. And Rosie is with Chapman, and Dana, who we're about to hear from, is Beverly Cleary East.
Hi, my name is Dana. I'm a parent of twin boys in 1st grade at Beverly Cleary. We live in the eastern pocket of Beverly Cleary between 47th and 57th, in an area that has been in limbo for a lot of years while we await our school assignment. And we would love an answer to that soon. But that's actually not why I'm speaking tonight. The reason I'm speaking tonight has to do with a proposal to allow for BCS and Laurelhurst to remain K-8s. In light of PPS's talk about equity, I have found this proposal shocking and upsetting and felt compelled to speak. This is not a criticism of these schools for wanting K-8s. I understand that. It's a very desirable option. But this is a criticism of PPS for allowing an exception to be made, as we perceive it, not based on buildings or programming like at Fabian and Sunnyside, which I can understand. And all this while other schools are being dismantled and organized in a predominantly K-5 middle school model. This is an inconsistent policy and inequitable. These K-8 schools in Northeast are in affluent areas, and it appears as though PPS is bowing to local pressure in these specific cases. And not applying the same model across the system. This sends a bad message. I think if BCS and Laurelhurst are allowed to stay K through 8s, this will only further concentrate wealth in these areas. These schools are already strong and desirable, and by allowing them to remain K through 8s, you create an environment where these schools become even more sought after, and it becomes even more expensive to live within their boundaries. These communities can fundraise, essentially creating private schools within PPS and allowing for an intimate environment where a school like BCS may have only 240 middle school students. By contrast, look at the proposal for Roseway Heights Middle School, which has 4 feeder schools. Recent PPS projections, not that long ago, were that 1,000+ students would attend Roseway Heights Middle School by 2020, making it nearly as large as Madison today. How is it equitable that some students get an intimate K-8 school environment while others are warehoused in large middle schools? I think a deeper issue is that PPS allows fundraising to support programming. How can you allow for a system of fundraising to support the continuation of only the most affluent K-8 schools? I think it is wrong to allow fundraising to play such a huge role in whether kids get either a more intimate school setting versus a mega middle school environment. PPS needs to examine its fundraising policies because it's creating disparities. Additionally, PPS needs to use the same K-5 middle school model across the district to build credibility and equity. This is a public school system. And we want the same treatment for all.
Now we have Rosie Platt.
Hey, hello. My name is Rosie Platt. I'm the PTA president at Chapman Elementary School. Thank you. I wanted to start by supporting the Sylvan Highlands community. Considering the lack of transportation to Wilson High School, please consider keeping them in the Lincoln cluster. We sent out a survey to the Chapman community to best understand how families felt about this latest scenario. 192 families responded to the survey over 3 days. The 277 comments from these families revealed that there is a lot of frustration, mixed emotion, and overwhelming opposition to a split campus that sends Chapman kindergartners to the Ramona. We all want to see a reduction in our overpopulation, but split campuses are detrimental to communities. The disconnect is real, and the strain on students, families, and staff is immense. Not to mention the extra cost for the district to run a freestanding kindergarten program. Chapman kindergartners will experience less community building activities, specials, loss of connection with their older peers, and little opportunities to be part of a school community. Also, loss of instructional time with the extra transportation and the horrendous parking situation in the Pearl. This boundary process is working to remedy other split campuses in the district. It shouldn't start splitting them up again unless there is no other option. You have other options. One of our main concerns is the precedent that is set in the scenario that opt-in schools are prioritized over neighborhood schools. This plan threatens the cohesiveness of our community, the strength of our neighborhood school, and leaves opt-in programs untouched. Neighborhood schools should be the focal point of neighborhoods, bringing communities together, not splitting them apart. The location of focus, option, and opt-in schools should not be preserved at the expense of the integrity of a K-5 neighborhood school. We feel strongly that relocating focus option programs should come before a split campus is ever considered. We understand that there is not presently another location for MLC, but there is space for Ainsworth Spanish Immersion at East Sylvan for this fall, which would open up 2 classrooms at Chapman and more every year. We still assert that relocating Spanish Immersion better aligns with the mission of prioritizing neighborhood schools. East Sylvan is less than 3 miles from Ainsworth and is more centrally located and more equitable to the broader population of native speakers throughout the West Side. Some are concerned that Spanish Immersion at Ainsworth will not have space to grow on that site. However, it would be less expensive in the long run to bring portables to the East Sylvan campus than pay for the support that it would take to successfully run a split campus at the Ramona for at least 5 to 10 years until a new school is opened. Ultimately, what is needed, and the one thing that all West Side communities can agree upon, is a new school in the inner West Side. With that, we support PPS looking into the post office and Lincoln sites for a new school. I do hope that PPS considers a new middle school as well, as West Sylvan has its own overcrowding issues and is not conveniently located for inner West Side families. Our survey shows that many Chapman families would consider MLC for middle school because of the convenient location compared to remote West Sylvan. We also support the reconfiguration of MLC with Chapman neighborhood preference. Also consider raising the cap for class sizes in opt-in programs to help take the pressure off neighborhood schools in our growing area. Chapman families overwhelmingly believe that a split campus is not an option. Thank you.
We have had a request from the superintendent that if you do have your written comments and you're willing to leave a copy with us, we would very much be grateful to have those. So our next two folks are going to be, so I have Liv and Viola Cruz from Irvington. Okay. And then I have Julie Davis from King, please.
Beautiful. Beautiful. My name is Viola Cruz, and this is my wife, Liv Cruz. I grew up in Woodlawn and Madison neighborhood, and I met my wife when she was transferred to Concordia University in '94. We have 3 sons, 2 kindergartners that are also twins, and a 3rd grade student. We chose Irvington because of high expectations that are the norm, and the avenues to achieve are clear. We chose Irvington because our boys need to sit in a class with kids who not only look like them, but also represent the world in which they live. Like our friends who stand among us and around us today, we choose Irvington because it is a diverse and has great teachers. When PPS initially announced their desire to move away from the K-8 model, we were open to the idea. To make an informed decision, we first explored what Irvington Middle Level had to offer. We discovered our middle level students participate in an impressive set of challenges and culturally relevant electives. For example, every late opening, our students choose from a wide variety of service learning opportunities, giving back to the Portland community at large, while learning about social justice. Our middle level students push in as reading tutors and mentors every day. Through this and a host of other support at school, our students are on a path to becoming the next generation of community leaders.
I must admit, I was biased against the K-8 model. I have 18 years experience as a middle school teacher, and I believe in the middle school model. And yet, Irvington has something special happening simply because it is a K-8. Did you know that last year's 3rd grade DIBEL scores did not have an achievement gap at Irvington? None. Let me repeat that. Race was not an indicator of how well a student performed on reading tests. What's more, the students in those classrooms were 53% students of color. And we are serving them with programs and supports that can only happen at a K-8. Our learning in depth, service learning, mentoring, courageous conversations that our community participates in, and SWIFT programs are built upon our K-8 structure. Let me tell you about our Irvington children. We are 41% students of color, 15% special ed, and 20% free and reduced lunch. By reconfiguring our school, you will dramatically alter the faces and experiences for our entire student body, and especially for our boys. That's a community that we need. If you remove 175 students from our middle level program, we ask ourselves, how will you replace them to create a sustainable curriculum? When we look around our neighboring communities, it seems the options available to us are wider and wealthier. If we pull from our overcrowded neighbors to the east, our student population will shift from 41% students of color to less than 10%. That would be disastrous for our community. Irvington's model is something that needs to be replicated, not dismantled. As a beacon school, As a beacon school for our courageous conversations, our teachers have been trained to support our diverse student body. These scores are a direct result of a community of teachers who have worked hard to create change in a system that has historically not served my children well. All of our students need to stay at Irvington so the work and investment our teachers have made can continue. PPS has to do better for Portland students. It is long overdue, and we acknowledge that. We are excited by a vibrant middle school at Tubman, and we are glad that PPS is addressing the unacceptable failures of the past. We also need you to understand what we are doing in Irvington is currently meeting the gold standard that you've set forth. Our school does not need to be taken apart, and our schools are not needed to make Tubman the amazing school that we know it will be. Before you make this momentous decision, commit to visiting us. See for yourselves. We are working to educate every student who walks in the front door. Will you come?
Oh, there are. Are there other King people in the house? Oh, good. There's like 4 of us. No, wait. A couple more up there. First of all, I want to say I'm here. My name is Julie Davis. Thank you. And I am a King parent. I have a 5th grader at King School. I have a 2-year-old who will be a future King student, perhaps. And first of all, I want to say, okay, this is a hard act to follow, and I'm going to go a little bit off script here for just 2 seconds. Can King Middle School join Irvington? Because you know what? That would help. Okay, I'm going to go back on script now. Okay, so I want to start out with a thank you. Thank you for finally stepping up to address some of the inequity in the Jefferson cluster. We are really excited about Ockley Green. We are happy for our sister Jefferson cluster schools who have suffered from the same things that King School is still suffering from. So thank you. It was needed, right? Absolutely. So here's where I want to begin about King School, because there are still problems. So here is your mission statement. Every student, by name, prepared for college, career, and participation as an active community member, regardless of race, income, or zip code. So here's a rub. And his name is Atticus Salmon, and he's my son. He's one of 39 5th graders. That's in the entire school. He is about to join a middle school, and I want you all as parents who are in slightly more affluent schools, which probably really is all of you, probably, just to imagine a middle school that offered no extracurricular opportunities, no athletics, none. There are no athletic options. And most importantly for our kids, no differentiation. So for example, Max, Karen's son, is really great at math. There's no algebra at King School Middle School. Sine, Tanisha's daughter, my son Atticus, they're more the readers, budding young writers, both of them expressed an interest in becoming writers. There's no differentiation in language arts. We have scraped to get some differentiation this year, which was then scrapped for an electronic program that our kids are now using that uses rap songs to teach vocabulary. It's called vocabulary, and that's what our kids are doing rather than reading novels. That's what's happening at King School right now. Thacia, Debbie's daughter, loves songs and music and loves to dance and is really inspired by music. But there's no choir program at King Middle School. There's nothing there for the kids. Now here's the truth. We will probably all leave. We have wherewithal. We know our way to work the system just like you all have. But what happens to those few kids that are left in that middle school with that kind of program? And can I remind you, yes, I was actually stunned by the statistics at Georgia Middle School, but you would be equally surprised the deplorable statistics for King Middle School. It is almost 100% poverty. Almost all of these are kids of color. These are the kids that you regularly underserve. And right now, this very moment, tomorrow morning, those kids will continue to be underserved. I get that you wanted to open a school at Ockley Green for our sister schools. Seriously, no one at King is standing in your way. We're like, yes. But here's the problem. You have forgotten one of the most fragile and vulnerable schools in your whole district. You have left us behind. And yeah, there's only 70 of us, but here's a fix, and here's what we propose. Take these 70 kids, give them to Irvington, put us at Sabin, put us at Ockley for 1 year until Tubman is open. It's not right. Oh wait, one other thing, because this is important. Sorry, I'm shaking, I'm really mad. I'm really, really mad. We shouldn't have to apply for hardship transfers or work the system or do address fraud to do this. This should just be given to King Middle School. You need to disband it next year, because really you needed to disband it 6 years ago when I started my parent activism with Tanisha and Karen and Debbie, because we've been complaining about that for this long. And now 2 generations of King Middle School kids have had their entire middle school experience framed by those kinds of circumstances. And I want all of you who have heard this story to go and share that with your neighbors, because people need to know that this is happening right now and it needs to stop.
Awesome testimony, thank you. Really, totally awesome. And I can assure you it's not my nature to want to cut people off. If you give me a mic, I could talk all night myself. So, but know that obviously, you know, the more we can go, the more we can get more people who can also share their stories. So thank you so much. Berkeley Sherman, MLC student, and Kari Carney from Northwest. Please. Come on up here, honey. Okay. Can you see? Do you want to come around here with a microphone? Okay, honey, do you want to come around so people can see you, or do you like it like that? Okay.
Berkeley Sherman, Ramona LMS, Berkeley MLC student. MLC and Ramona, people who go there are walking and taking a public bus or streetcar, or going in a car. It is wrong. People don't want to have a car, want to be good to planet Earth, but parents of MLC kids work downtown, so these are not extra car trips. Some MLC kids live downtown. I was at a meeting at Chapman School Monday night. Their principal was in charge of the meeting. I was a Ramona student. It was a good place when I went to kindergarten. MLC was my neighborhood school. I lived at the Wickersham. At the meeting, I learned Chapman is planning to take over MLC and make it a K-by-A, and they are mocking the MLC high school. I wish MLC parents and Chapman parents could be friends, then there would not be so many problems at these 2 schools. 25% of MLC middle school 6x8 are from the neighborhood today.
That's also a tough one to follow. So, my name is Kari Carney, and I am the parent of a current 2nd grader and incoming kindergartner at Chapman Elementary. Last week, when the superintendent's proposal came out,
The Chapman community felt shock, frustration, and disbelief that 2 focus option programs were allowed to remain in their current location while a neighborhood school was split between 2 campuses. While I tend to support this scenario, where immediate relief is felt and kids are moved as one unit, I still find it frustrating that PPS district policy of preserving neighborhood schools over focus options was ignored. Chapman will likely unite, pull together, and make this work, as they have in the past with such extensive overcrowding. However, this type of solution that splits a campus apart should be a last resort only. I feel that Chapman should accept this with the caveat that it is a 1 to 2 year Band-Aid solution at maximum. It is also not realistic that a new school can somehow be approved and built in anywhere less than 5 to 7 years, so some tough decisions need to be made within the next year or 2 regarding focus options. I understand that no one wants to move, but other focus options such as Access and Odyssey express that they do not feel their programs will fall apart entirely if moved. And also look at a move as an opportunity for growth and improvement. At least everyone gets to move together. I am hopeful that PPS can revisit locating opt-in programs. Here's a particularly eloquent posting from the Sackett and DBRAC page in response to focus options. As a parent with 2 children in an alternative program, I think it's very important to acknowledge the advantages our children receive solely from being in such programs, as well as the responsibility we have to be sympathetic neighbors to the families who do not have such advantages. Our kids have the deck stacked in their favor before they even enter school because we are advocating for them from the get-go. In order to get into a special program, parents have to take tours, fill out forms, enter a lottery, or apply for their children. This takes time, knowledge, and energy that many families do not have. Then there's just plain luck. Most programs do not have room for all applicants. Once a child is in a program, they immediately have an educational advantage that most kids in the district do not. They have a different curriculum, smaller classes, are immersed in a language, or are accelerated. I think it's important to remember our kids do not deserve this any more than other kids, as well as the fact that most other students are learning in situations that would likely be intolerable to us. It's easy to shift the blame to PPS when such programs come under scrutiny because of population changes or growth. And of course, PPS deserves much of this blame. There isn't going to be a new school in the near future, and Chapman needs to alleviate overcrowding now. In such circumstances, I think nearby programs need to take a good hard look at themselves and what they can do to help the situation, rather than turning defensive and reactionary. 3 years ago, when Access was moved from Sabin to Rose City Park because of overcrowding at Alameda, it was amazing to see the soul searching that went on over what Access should become. Ultimately, it chose equity as its goal, and although there's work to be done, sibling preference was done away with, reaching undeserved kids became the priority, and the fact that we would likely have to move again to accommodate a neighborhood school was accepted, despite many logistical disadvantages. I would love to see the lottery programs on the west side give themselves the same hard scrutiny and ask what they can do to help the situation, as well as who and what such programs should really serve. Should such programs be for children whose parents will just send them to private school if the program's changed or moved, as I've heard several times, or should parents with such enormous resources that much of the city can't even fathom, discover the satisfaction in reaching out, being a good neighbor, and asking, what can I do to help you, even if it may make my life a bit more difficult? Maybe splitting Chapman is the best of a lot of bad alternatives, but I would hope it's not the only alternative because families already at an advantage refuse to sacrifice anything at all. Thank you.
Okay. So our next speaker will be, it looks like Julia Brooks from Kelly Elementary, and then we have Kristen Shorey from West Sylvan Highlands, please.
Hello, my name is Julia Brooks, and I am Russian immersion teacher at Kelly Elementary. All of the teachers in Russian immersion program want to thank you for this opportunity to voice our concerns. Our teachers are hardworking and dedicated educators who believe in benefits of bilingualism, and despite all the challenges our program faces, our program is very successful. Our students demonstrate great results in Russian and English, and our student parents are very supportive and understand that knowledge of 2 languages opens many doors in their children's future. If we understand your enrollment balancing proposal correctly, it involves only K-8 schools. Russian immersion teachers and parents have very deep concerns about the current situation of our program at Kelly and would like to know if or what effects this proposal will have on our program. We would like to bring to your attention that Kelly School is heavily overcrowded at the moment. All classrooms, small closets, and even the stage in the cafeteria are occupied. Currently, we have 5 classes at each grade level, except 5th grade. But we are going to add another Russian immersion 5th grade class next year. The school building does not have any available space for additional classroom. We appreciate the fact that PPS district does a great job of bringing attention to race and minority challenges, but we would like to bring to your attention would like to acknowledge that Russian people have similar problems of having prejudice and biases against them as African Americans, Hispanic, or other people have, other minorities have. Even though Russians are Caucasian, they still a minority. We feel that this fact is being completely overlooked. And this school year, our 4 Russian immersion classes, 2 kindergartens, and 2 first grades will move to Kelly Center, where they had to share space with Head Start program. Our neighborhood classes are located in the main building, though. Last year, we tried to address this issue of segregation of our students with the administration, but our concerns were not taken into consideration. How does the separation of 4 Russian immersion classes support the idea of diversity and equality in our school? It is crucial that we teach our children to be inclusive of other cultures at the young age. This separation is not healthy for our school community and does not support district initiatives of equity. Another concern that Russian parents do not feel welcome at Kelly School anymore. Since the beginning of the program 9 years ago, parents had weekly meetings where they could discuss issues that were important to them. This year, Russian immersion parents have meetings with the agendas that are not relevant for their interests. And when parents asked to meet at least twice a month, they were advised to go to a church or to a park for their meetings. So instead of welcoming our diverse community, we tell them the school simply doesn't have a place for them. What message does it send to our parents, and would they want to be involved in school life after that? In conclusion, Kelly Elementary School does not have enough space to home Russian immersion program and all neighborhood classes. It does not have space for another 5th grade class that will be added next school year, and it does not have space for parents' meetings. We came here today in hope that you will be able to help us solve the problems that Russian immersion program has at Kelly School. And we do not have a solution, but we have a suggestion to make some changes to the balancing enrollment proposal in order to get more room for all Russian immersion classes. We may be able to make this come to pass when the borders are redefined and our program or some neighborhood students could move to a different school that was K-8 and became K-5. This would allow us to have all Russian immersion classes in the same building. We are open to any suggestions that you might have, and we thank you for your time and consideration.
Hello, my name is Kristen Shorey, and I'm the Vice President of the Sylvan Highlands neighborhood. We're the little neighborhood that no one has ever heard of behind the zoo, where all the traffic starts. Yes, I live on 26. I'm also a proud parent of a fourth grader at Chapman, so I've experienced firsthand the experience of having offices put into broom closets. We have a classroom that used to be the music room when she started in kindergarten, and now it houses 2 classrooms. So overcrowding is a huge issue, and it's not just on the east side, it's everywhere. So we really appreciate this process and you listening to us and what we need to do. As you heard last night, our neighborhood is adamant that Lincoln is our high school because the arduous transportation issues the Wilson causes our young commuters over an hour to get to school when they can ride their bikes down through the park to Lincoln in 15 minutes. I've sent you and your board our traffic studies, so if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. As a neighborhood, we're very excited that our empty school, which is around the corner, which has had many lives as many different kinds of schools, but it's slated to either be Odyssey or Spanish immersion. And whatever school it is, we're excited to have a neighborhood school again. They're going to be our new favorite neighbors. We're already planning a farmer's market. And we applaud Odyssey last night spoke to how excited they were to come to the school, and it might look like a broken down school to a lot of people, but they're just excited to be there, and we're excited to help them paint walls and do whatever they need to do to build their school. Because strong schools come from the leadership, they come from students, they come from the parents, and they come from the program and the community around them. I learned that at Chapman, not the building they're in. Okay, so off comes my hat. And now I'm no longer on the board, now it's just me. So I have 2 ideas, because I've been reading all this and I've been thinking. Because it isn't a building that makes a school, and MLC is strong. They are an amazing program, 30 years. They have an amazing group. 50? Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. You can take what Odyssey has done. They know that their community is strong as it is, and it doesn't matter where they are, they're going to be strong. And I think MLC could do the same thing. Okay. You got a tough, thank you. Because the Chapman needs relief now, and I don't think that in particular the kindergartners should be the ones paying for the short-sighted thinking that's going on. I have one other proposal that is going to I'll make this one quick. So we know that Roosevelt is a new high school that's coming on, and it's going to be sparkly brand new, and it's going to be empty. There's going to be some empty classrooms. It's going to be under-enrolled. 8 miles away, you have Skyline and Forest Park, where there's no public transportation. Those kids get on a bus and go 8 miles to Lincoln. Lincoln is bound to be overcrowded with this explosive population that keeps happening. So why not have the 8 miles go to Roosevelt, and then you have equity that's built. Right? So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, the next folks that we have, Annie Snyder from Roosevelt, and we have Beth Kavanaugh from a group of folks called Solutions Group. Nice. Come on up. Annie is first, please.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Superintendent. My name is Annie Snyder. I am a parent of 3 kids who currently go to Astor School, and I'm hoping, if things turn out well, to be a parent of a kid at Roosevelt High School next year. I'm honored to be here tonight to speak on behalf of our Astor community and express our collective concern over the recommended changes to our spectacular neighborhood school. In making this recommendation, PPS has placed us in the unfortunate and uncomfortable position of calling out another of our local schools. George Middle School has been pointedly and repeatedly ignored by PPS despite or possibly because of its egregious lack of success. Smart Balance test scores for George are evidence of this failure. In 2014 and 15, passing scores for George 8th graders were just 18% in English, 12% in science, and less than 5% in math. These scores all fall significantly below district averages. In comparison, Astor 8th graders scored during the same testing year 59% in English, 67% in science, and 41% in math. All scores that fall at or well above district averages. The move to George Middle School for our Astor kids is not a lateral academic move, and it is not a fair move for our kids. Another outstanding concern within the Astor community regarding this recommendation is that of safety. Results from the Successful Schools survey in 2015 show that 87% of parents and 96% of staff at Astor feel safe sending their kids there. At George, just 55% of parents and only 21% of staff felt that kids were safe at George Middle School. 91% of the Astor staff reported feeling safe at their school, while just 21% of the staff at George felt safe at their school. As a parent, I find the discrepancy in these findings to be extremely alarming, not just for the Astor kids that may find themselves at George, but for the young members of the George community. As a community, we are deeply concerned that sending our kids to George in its current state will lead to many of our students leaving the Roosevelt Cluster community. After all the time, effort, and millions of dollars that PPS has invested in Roosevelt High School, this recommendation threatens to weaken rather than strengthen our greater community by funneling students out of the district. As a community, we understand that change may be necessary and inevitable. We demand to be part of this conversation and ask you, PPS, what investment are you willing to make in George Middle School that will make us want to send our kids there? Astor families make conscious decisions to be part of this great school and community, and we are ready to stand up for our kids' safety and academic success. We ask and demand of you, Superintendent Smith, and the PPS board to please do the same.
My name is Beth Kavanaugh. I'm from Abernathy Elementary. I'm here with Lisa from Creston, and we are both here on behalf of the Southeast Solutions Group. We currently have about 30 members from schools all over Southeast Portland coming together to engage our various school communities in this boundary discussion. We've been meeting over the last 6 weeks to brainstorm and collaborate on the priorities and issues facing Southeast Portland schools as the district makes this transition. Our group has been working together to create a variety of feeder pattern scenarios that highlight a range of options for Southeast Portland. We want to collaborate with PPS and DBRAC to design an input process that allows voices from across our Southeast communities to be heard and to ensure a plan that takes the needs and priorities of our quadrant into account. We feel that by bringing as many voices as possible to the table, our community will feel empowered as part of the process and solution. We're pleased that PPS heard the request last fall from many Southeast parents asking for more time for our quadrant in this process. Most of our schools do not struggle with the urgent overcrowding issues facing some other areas of the city, so we feel that taking the time to transition properly is important for Southeast. Because of the concentration of focus option and immersion programs in our area, it would make sense to determine the future of our neighborhood boundaries alongside any changes that might happen in these programs, and we hope that by extending the timeline in Southeast, that taking these intertwined schools into account will be possible. We believe that listening sessions for the Southeast communities should begin in the fall of 2016 in order to facilitate robust community engagement before decisions are made regarding Southeast feeder patterns, with Kellogg's reopening in fall of 2018. Waiting until spring of 2017 to hear from the community is too late. We want to be heard and involved in the process. So far, we have reached out to every elementary school in Southeast Portland, but we've yet to create connections with all communities. We would like to have 1 or 2 community members from every school that can attend our meetings and report back to their communities. Currently, our group includes parents from, in alphabetical order, Abernathy, Arleta, Atkinson, Bridger, Creative Science, Creston, Glencoe, Harrison Park, Kelly, Lewis, Marysville, Richmond, Vestal, and Woodstock. If you are a member of a school community that's not represented in our group, please touch base with one of us tonight so we can get you more information into our Google group and get some more voices heard. Thank you.
Okay, so as you know, our meeting ends at 8, which is in about 5 minutes. However, we have about 6 names left to get through our first rotation of folks, which is basically what we were able to do last night as well. And so if it's all right, we might go maybe 10 minutes over to get through the first rotation. And I would like to invite up Janelle Zhao and Jason Redmond. Janelle is also Harrison Park. Jason Redmond is Sabin. Please come on up.
Harrison Park 其中一個家長。
Hi, everybody. I am one of the parents of the Harrison Park. I'm supposed to speak English, right? I got confused. I keep talking Chinese. Hi, I'm a parent of the Harrison Park. Hi, everybody.
我今日嚟係代表 Harrison Park 嗰啲家長係講中文嘅。
I represent the Harrison Park's parents. I speak Chinese.
佢哋可能好怕醜，但係我冇。
They may be shy, but I'm not.
我哋今日反映一件事咧，就係關於我哋 Harrison Park 咧，嗰啲學生太多，啲老師少，同埋啲校長咧，我哋740個學生得一個校長，我哋應該係有2個校長。
I think we have too many students, less teachers. We have 740 students. We should have 2 superintendents or principals instead of 1.
同埋我哋嗰啲課室咧，嗰啲學生係比較多嘅。一個老師，我覺得佢哋老師負擔太重，同埋我哋啲學生跟唔上嗰啲課程。
We have too many students in the classes, and I think our students can really follow because it's too much responsibility in the teacher, so the student cannot follow the teacher.
我哋 South East 呢度係人口最密集嘅地方。我哋如果要學校更改咧，我哋應該第一時間係更改我哋 South East 呢度，因為咧我哋呢度太多人啦。
The southeast area is the most populated, so if any changes to be made, we should be the first to make, and because we have so many people.
我哋每一次放學、返學嗰陣時，學校門口咧，啲學生有啲太大，有啲太細，咁撈連咗咧，變咗佢哋行路咧衝撞嗰啲咧，做好大嘅影響㗎。有時咧，佢哋會大個會 step 向嗰啲細嗰度咧，嗰啲細個真係好 campaign 嘅。
Because we have so many students, some are big, some are small. Sometimes when they go to school or get out of school, when they walk, they may step on maybe the big one, step on the small one, or hit each other.
仲有咧，我個仔咧成日即係喺學校同啲同學仔即係有即係爭吵之類嗰啲嘢，就唔係好大問題。但係佢咧成日翻屋企咧就同我 campaign，又話同學 邊個整咗佢，樣啲人嗰樣咁樣。但係咧，我問佢點解唔講俾老師聽，咁佢啊，媽咪啊，老師話少少事唔使講我聽，咁即係有時咧，咁我又睇到老師真係好忙啊，媽咪，老師唔得閒聽啊。
My son in school, he may argue with classmates. He doesn't talk to the teacher. When he came home, he would talk to me. And I said, well, how come you don't talk to the teacher and bring it up to the teacher? He said, well, but the teacher is so busy. I cannot really talk to the teacher and present the problem.
所以咧，我哋代表 Hosford Park 嗰啲家長咧，邀請即係懇請我哋嘅校監Carlo 係將我哋嘅 Hosford Park 馬上要改回 K to 5，然後咧嗰個 Crane School 咧係改回我哋嘅小學。
Last I will suggest our Superintendent Carol. This year, what we need to change, we don't want to wait until 2019, and hopefully we'll get Harrison Park change K6 to K8 school, and get the creative science school changed to our elementary school.
仲有我哋教育好下一代，係我哋國家成功嘅一半。
If we can educate our next generation, we have to have success of our life.
Okay, we have Jason Redman, and then I'm going to let you know that after that we have Pearl Fetters with Vernon. And it looks like there's a couple folks who are going to come stand with Pearl and Tim Doty, U of P. I'm going to ask if Tim Doty, are you an Astor parent? So you guys have spoken 3 times. I think you've spoken twice, this would be 3rd time. Some families have not spoken at all. I'm going to have you go at the end. Yes? Did the same thing, thank you, and we didn't realize it, and we are the victim of that, so I'm sorry for that. Jason, please. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jason Redman. I'm the parents of 2 kids at Sabin. I'm not going to go over some of the things that are similar, but I think we have a very similar thing going on that Irvington does, where we have a very ethnically diverse population that is doing quite well. And I would like to say to the King people, I wish we could take you guys and come right now. I wonder how many people are aware of the cadmium situation that has been brought up with the Tubman site. How many people are on flash alert through the PPS, the messaging system? Some? Okay. There was a meeting that I spent 3 hours watching last night on YouTube that took place on February 18th. I believe Paul Anthony was there, if he's still here. And at that meeting, they discussed the fact that Ouroboros Glass Company has been emitting heavy metals for a long time and just recently stopped in February, I believe it is. However, are there any Fabian parents here? There were a lot of Fabian parents there, and a lot of them were asking the simple question, how in the world was this site identified by the EPA in 2009, and hundreds of Fabian students are there right now? As of yet, the DEQ is honestly not retesting the soil at that site. They are testing the soil at a neighborhood park, I believe. But no, they are testing Sabin? Okay. Were you at that meeting? You look familiar, exactly. Okay. The school has said at that meeting that they have done their own testing. Is that not correct? All right. This is sort of the treatment that the parents there also received, where I felt like PPS's response to this was somewhat condescending and brush off, and the DEQ took most of the blame for it. My fundamental point is I do not understand how you can possibly have a scenario in Tubman School when the DEQ has not completed its retest, right? Parents who are asking about concerns like, is it safe for my kid to be there, got answers like, well, make sure they wash their hands when they come back inside. Did you hear that? Okay, no. I'm just saying to anyone who watched YouTube the meeting at Harriet Tubman School regarding air quality, it's very informative, and I wish we had been invited to go. And for Sabin and Irvington, schools that are considered to go to the site were not invited. And none of them were. That's a problem.
All right, we have Pearl Fetters from Vernon, please. And then we have, I want to say Mo Moore, is that right, from Whitman Elementary, okay? Come on up, girls.
Here are a few questions and statements from the Vernon Middle Schoolers. How many parents want more personal education for your children? How many students do you want in a class, 18 or 30?
What about the pressure of switching to a middle school? Remember that.
A K-8 school takes the pressure off of that switch because we practically know the whole school. We get to walk and bike to school with the other students who normally we don't see during the school day.
Having a K-8 school is also good for the younger kids because it shows leadership.
We have IB. You spent a lot of money to make it happen.
And now you're just going to take it away from us middle schoolers.
We want to stay a K-8 because we are just becoming a community. Why uproot us now?
That's awesome. So I have our Whitman speaker. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
My name is May Moore, and I'm a parent at Whitman Elementary. And I want to tell you how excited I was when I went to my meeting at Lane about the enrollment balancing and all the things you described in the presentation about how life is hard for under-enrolled schools is absolutely true at Whitman Elementary. And I thought, this is going to be great. And so when I got your proposal, I read through every single thing, and I said, where's Whitman? And I was shocked that nothing was going to happen for our school, as far as I could tell, in the foreseeable future. Nothing about the boundary change that was going to give us more students, nothing about the question of where our students were going to go to high school. So that's just my question. When are we going to find that out? And why are we not on the same timetable as everyone else? I was really sad.
Thank you. Our University of Portland speaker, are you going to make points that have already been made, or did you have some new things you wanted to add? A couple new ones. All right, let's hear the new ones, and then we'll be done. Thank you. Thank you. And you're very tall.
I'll keep it short because that's not a height joke. But I know the time is short. So I'm a teacher. I teach engineering at the University of Portland, which is in North Portland. I'm sorry. Okay. I teach at the University of Portland. I teach engineering, which is in North Portland. And I've had an opportunity to do a lot of outreach with engineering through STEM at Astor and at Roosevelt, and we do a lot of things that affect George and Cesar Chavez. And so I have an opportunity to be invested in the community. I also have 2 kids at Astor, and we'll have a 3rd in the fall. Through the University of Portland, I've had a chance to do a lot of work with ethics, and I guess I feel we can't have a conversation about North Portland without talking about race and poverty. And I feel like we just can't ignore those issues as we look at that community, and neither can George, for sure. I'm a little embarrassed to not know more about George. I didn't realize much about the school until they were placed right in front of us as an Astor community, as a destination for middle school. And you've heard some of the statistics. You probably know the statistics. And I got to think the goal of PPS is to support the public and the public schools. And I think the proposed plan does a bit of a disservice for 2 reasons. One is the community that exists right now at Astor will be forced not in a lateral move, really, and the community will probably disband quite a bit because a number of people will be leaving the public school. The other is the overpopulation that motivates the change is just going to get transferred. We're going to overpopulate George when we get there. And I feel like it's not a sustainable program, not a sustainable pitch for us. I'd just like to point out our community, the Astor community, is not saying, no, we're not going to move, we're not going to do this. I think it's worth noting that we're trying to find a way to embrace the George idea. And the only thing I wanted to add to the pitches that have been made is, I don't know if any consideration has been made, taken for making George the K through 8 and potentially making Cesar Chavez the middle school for the area. What's exciting about that? I mean, we still would love to see magnet school, maybe art or STEM, or even like an ethnic studies program or something. I know that the language immersion would be a win there because the demographic would support that. But the idea then seems to support a more sustainable model because there's more room at Cesar Chavez for that. So these are just some ideas I wanted to add. I'm speaking for myself. And I guess I'd like to say we don't want to create another school that elites will come to in our neighborhood. I really would like to make a program that attracts the whole community and serves the existing community at George.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and I want to acknowledge MLC so that MLC folks know that actually last night, some really powerful feedback from MLC families and awesome students last night, so the superintendent was able to hear quite a bit about that, so thank you. And just really briefly so that you know, because it was brought up and I want you to know, with the air quality issue, we did testing of the soil at Tubman and in the indoor air at Tubman, as well as at 11 other schools that were in the so-called hot spots. We did that right away once we were informed, which was this year, about what was happening in the air, and we wanted to know what our kids were breathing in our schools. And in all of the cases, it came back with no detectable levels of the heavy metals, so I am letting you know that because it was raised. Okay, thank you so much for coming. I think the superintendent would like to bid you good night. Incredibly helpful feedback, thank you, and yes? So if you didn't get a chance to speak, because there's a lot more people than we had time for, we welcome, you can do 2 things. You can fill out a green comment card and we will outside, we will enter it into the record. You can also email to ppsgrows@pps.net, and we're capturing all of those emails and also sharing those with the superintendent. Or if you brought written toast many, good, yeah.
Yeah, before people leave, I just want to say thank you so much. It's really important that people share the stuff you shared tonight. We're trying to really hear the detail of what's being said and what people are valuing, and appreciate where people are trying to do okay, here's something, here's what we're distressed, but here's also ways we're trying to think about how we can make things work, even if they're not our first choice. Like, I feel like a lot of people put those kinds of things on the table, which will help us try and find a solution to this whole picture. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Stay tuned. So March 29th, I do my proposal to the board. It keeps moving. There are things that will take place in 2016 that we'll try and act on soon, but clearly some of these conversations keep going, and we're working. It'll get more local as we get our global picture. You'll end up in more neighborhood or feeder pattern specific conversations to try and work out details. So just stay with us on this. We're really trying. I will say the last comment I'll tell you, we had a gentleman last night who'd said, he was our last speaker, and he got up and he said, okay, I have been through the boundary change rodeo in 3 different communities I've lived in, and even there's no place that you do this and it's really an easy conversation, because it's all about community in your schools, and we're asking for change, and there's no way to, and we're dealing with huge growth in Portland that we're all experiencing, so there's no way we don't get to do this. But he said what he wanted to appreciate is he felt like it's been very clear how to participate. It's been really transparent. There have been a lot of iterations of really trying to be responsive to things that people are raising and really having us all be in trying to find a solution. So I just offer you that because he said it's really hard to see that if this is where you live and it's the only place you've been. I've been through this 3 places, and this has been by far the most spectacular process. Hard to feel it when you're in it right here, but it was a good comment to make because we can't feel that because we're just in it trying to find the solutions to this. So I will leave you with that. Thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.